Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another week of our Apocalypse World 2nd Edition, the Frozen Heights campaign. We are back with all three of our players, and looking forward to hopping back in here. So, just a basic recap of the last time we were here, as it has been a little while. It was basically the cleanup of that fight between Lark and the Ashtowner. There was definitely some tasks to take place there. Lark needed to go and tell his cult to calm down, and he had some very specific tasks to have them do. He said, in order for them to get everything that they deserve to get, they have to become legendary to stop worrying about the small things and focus on the big picture. And he tasked them to find out some information on the Emperor and his inner circle, on the Ghost Girl, and on this new enemy, Princey. The Emperor noticed there was something strange with Drag and took him down to the dungeon to have a bit of a talk with him, a bit of a conversation. He was strapped up to the wall, and we met a new member of the Legion, his torturer, and we call him, I believe, Crusacious. Uh,
Something like that.
very ugly human being. It's probably the reason why he's down alone in the dungeon. But while going through that, Dusk and the Emperor had a bit of a shared psychic experience in which they had their first conversation, though it was psychically. They talked for the first time. They also both saw the being known as the Entity, giant, and crossing over them as they sat atop a pile of thousands of bodies within the courtyard, surrounded by blue sky and green, which was a very strange landscape. Eventually, all three of them made their way to the church, had a bit of a conversation, for the time being have kind of agreed to coexist while they focus on, well, this outsider known as Princey and his people. So, a funeral took place, the bodies were burned, and we're coming back in a few days later. A storm has begun to roll in. It's causing a blur of gray and white to obscure most things beyond the city walls. All of the fire pits have been heavily stacked and lit, but most areas still have a decent dusting of crunchy snow. Most folks stay indoors. The market is a bit more quiet. Only the hardiest still stand out there and sell their wares. We begin later in the afternoon. The light is currently a very pale gray, and shadows have begun to darken the corners in the courtyard. So let's go ahead and highlight some stats real quick. So again, highlighting stats, you take a look at who has the highest amount of hex on your sheet, and you have the highest hex on your sheet, and then they highlight one of your stats. So Emperor, who would that be?
It's literally a tie, so Dusk.
Uh, I'll highlight your sharp.
And I think based off of what happened recently, I'm gonna go ahead and highlight your hard. Thing now that you're doing your military planning, you're gonna need to make sure you have that strength and kind of recuperate. What about you, Dusk? Who do you have the highest hex on your sheet? It's the highest number.
It's a tie as well.
Okay.
Let me roll. That would be Invictus.
Alright, highlight your weird.
Okay.
Seems good for a brainer.
I'm going to have you highlight your sharp. I think you have to be more aware of those new folks you're interacting with. And Lark.
It would be Invictus.
Oh boy. Also highlight your weird.
Nice.
I think you might need to think you might need to highlight your cool. I think there might
Alright.
need to be a level mind. All right. So I have a few love letters for everyone. So what we'll do is we'll start off with a love letter, and then we'll go through your opening moves for the Emperor and for Lark, so that we can kind of see how the day is going. So, Emperor, your scouts have returned from their expedition north with news. They have found Princey's camp and have been able to map out the way. It took them a few days to get there, and with the storm, it slowed them from getting back. As you speak with Fatima about the information, roll plus sharp and see what other information they can provide.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Okay. On a 10 plus, choose 2, and I'll give you the list here shortly, and you'll take +1 forward on these details. So your options are, they have notes on the land, they have notes on the creatures, they have notes on the people, or they have more notes on the location.
And the first one was notes on the location or on
The
path?
land. The land.
The land. Okay. I'm going to choose notes on the land and notes on the people.
Okay. So as you have a meeting with Fatima, she kind of goes over what they encountered. As far as the land, the route there has a few key things to consider. First of all, you have to cover about a good half-mile stretch of frozen water. They are unclear whether this is a river that was frozen over or part of a lake, but they did notice that it was certainly water. There are a few pinch points, a total of 2, in which the mountains close in fairly tight to the trail. One is about a day's journey. The other one is about a half day away from the actual location. The trail to actually get to the entrance of his camp is so small, they do not believe any vehicles could get up there, only small carts, as it does wind up a footpath up the side of the mountain to the entrance of the cave.
Okay.
They also note that it's very hilly, lot of snow, and because the trail's been snowed over so often, they would recommend either a plow or some kind of shovel brigade to be there to clear the path to allow any kind of carts or vehicles to move.
All right.
As far as the people, they encountered a few of Princey's scouts fairly early on, individuals riding snowmobiles. They were also dressed in all white, and they didn't see... Your scouts didn't see them. Princey's scouts seemed to find your scouts, as they seemed to be able to hide pretty easily. They were very agreeable and welcoming. They led them directly to the camp and actually kept watch over them during their nights. They said that they didn't encounter them until after the first day. Beyond that point, again, they were able to travel with them, offered rides in the back of their snowmobiles to the base of the camp. There were not too many people outside of the cave itself, but they did notice that a large cable car seemed to rest at the base of the trail that does lead to the mouth of the cave, but it's unclear if that still works or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, definitely a lot of information there.
All right. So let's go ahead and do your opening move roll as well.
Sweet. So, well, I roll hard. Okay, let's. Okay, perfect.
Oh man. All right.
Which says, so on a 10 plus, you have surplus in hand and available for the needs of the session. So I have my +5 barter.
Perfect.
That's a lot of barter.
It is a lot of barter. Hey, why do gigs when you are the gig?
Right. All right, perfect. So, all right, just checking over the notes here. All right, so let's go ahead and hop over to Lark real quick. So, Lark, your speech has inspired your followers. With your task to find information, you have seen them become more active in the community, offering to help carry inventory, cleaning the bar at night, watching the local children. They seem to be making a presence in the area. As they return to you for services, they each have information to provide. Open your mind as you normally do, but add your followers' fortune to the roll, and then choose the information you seek. And I'll have a list for you.
Oh boy. So I'm opening my brain, and I get to add fortunes as well.
Correct. You add your followers' fortune to the roll, which I believe is
Oh, boy.
2.
I have it at 1, but it's
1?
totally possible I missed something.
It might be 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at 1, because that gives me a +4.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even give me the option to put in 4, so I'm just going to roll it at 3, and we'll keep the fortunes in mind.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Perfect.
Didn't even need that fortune.
So yeah, you can open your mind. So do you choose to seek out information on the Emperor and his inner circle, Princey, his place and his people, or the castle and who here is ripe for the picking?
Oh, so many good choices. I'm going to put some faith in my followers and not pick the Emperor. As much as I want to go, I want to know who's right for the picking. I think I'm going to say Princey and his people, because that's where Lark actually plans to be heading, and therefore is the most immediate concern.
Okay. So as you close your eyes, you begin to allow yourself to enter into your visionary state, and you find yourself in a dark room, as you often do, but you start to hear small drips. It sounds like water falling down, and as each drop hits against a solid substance, you start to see a bit of light appear. The light appears to be a dark blue, but eventually, as this pool begins to fill, the room begins to illuminate with this light kind of blue tint, and it becomes a larger pool and a larger pool. Eventually, you see a figure. He's stark naked, walking towards this pool. He begins to shiver, as if quite cold, as he takes each step into it. And as he gets to right about his shoulder and his neck begins to submerge, you see his skin starting to turn a dark blue and purple as well. As he submerges down, you see the water go still and almost harden, as if frozen. And you wait for a moment, trying to get an understanding of what you're seeing. It begins to crack, and this figure reappears, and as he does, he's malshapen. His back has more bumps and lumps than it should, and as he turns to face you, his eyes are still closed, but a third eye has appeared on the top of his head. This eye opens with the same kind of blue light. It casts like a spotlight towards your direction. As you turn around, you see the light pass through you and begin to illuminate the rest of this very large open cavern, where you see there's about 40 other people that are all standing there that begin to bow down and almost praise this being as he emerges from the water. With that, your vision begins to go dark, and you feel yourself begin to be pulled back towards that water and submerged, and you feel that same energy of the entity beginning to baptize you, as it were. You find yourself awakened.
All right. Yeah, that's a little bit out there, even for Lark's visions. I guarantee he's trying to think what metaphorical like meaning that third eye is, and boy, he's going to be in for a surprise later. I imagine Lark wakes up in his tent or something.
Yeah, so you probably wake up in your tent, find that maybe you slept a bit longer than you have. Maybe you've been putting in some extra work with your followers as well for the past couple days. Let's go ahead and then do your opening move as well.
All right.
Roll well.
Okay.
Okay.
Not bad.
So,
So
on a
7 to 9, they have surplus, but choose one want. On a miss, they are in want. Okay.
yeah. So, what is their want?
I'm gonna say their want right now is probably hunger,
Okay.
because Abraham actually kind of revealed to the entire group that we were low on food.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that they know that it's been a few days. They're like, "Hey, we're not going to be able to eat in a few days. What are you? And you're leaving. What are you going to do about this?"
Mm-hmm. All right. And Dusk. The past few days have caused you to face more people than you've ever wanted, and this dark figure still seems to whisper to you in the brightest of times and quietest of moments. You feel the prying eyes of those that follow this Lark, yet keep hidden in your dark spaces and quiet places while the Legion Guard wanders by. Each day as you close your eyes, you've been having dreams, but they're not your own. You keep getting thrust into others' dreams. Sometimes it's even like you're living through them. Please roll plus weird. On a 7 to 9, a character actually knows that you were in their dream with them. Select who it was, add +1 hex with this character, and have them add +1 hex to theirs.
Tough choice. I'd say I'm going to say Lark.
Okay. So Lark, go ahead and add +1 hex. Lark, what was the dream that Dusk entered? What were you? What did you both see? What did you both experience?
I think that with everything going on with Lark right now, oh, you know what? I think Lark was dreaming of his past when he first found the skull, but as he starts kind of like going through the motions of reliving his experiences, he steps into a room that's completely unfamiliar to him, like a very, very like high-tech looking medical facility
Mm-hmm.
that perhaps is not of his own past, but of Dusk's.
Mm.
And there's a part where they're separated by a door, but one side is Lark's and the other side is Dusk's. So that improved HX is them looking into each other's like life and their defining moments.
Mm. I like it.
And Lark probably doesn't look like he does now in this dream. He probably looks, he's more malnourished. He looks beaten up. He looks like he's close to death's door, but he's still clutching this black skull.
Mm-hmm. So on this morning, Emperor, you've met with your advisors. It's later in the afternoon. Oh, the camera kind of falls upon you as you're going about your day. What is your current task?
The Emperor is actually going to visit his new manufacturing,
Hmm.
just to go see how things are going there, how the people are setting themselves up, making an impression on people.
And so that was being kind of added into where you had the furnace
Hmm.
pre-existing. Yeah, so you have a few folks that came in here. The primary worker, the lead blacksmith, is a gentleman named Foster. Came from one of the lowland towns. You just know that he's been around and he's always kind of offered to help out, but you never really had the place for him. But now with a bit of extra money and with some extra supplies that have come in, you've been able to offer him a place to build. You see he's in the process of working on, it looks like just some generic spearheads. He's currently alone in there, but you do see a few other workstations that have signs of work. That it's possible the other folks are either out gathering supplies or maybe he's just kind of sent them out for other work. But you walk in and immediately you feel the immense heat. You see he's standing there, shirtless, very well built, strong. You notice he has a long hair that's kind of tied into a braid on the back of his head, and every time he hammers down, the braid kind of swings back and forth, swinging sweat, kind of like a wet brush all around. He wears leather pants that have a large belt and variety of different tools all around it. You do see just kind of signs of wear and tear, whether it's from old fights or just injuries within the shop. It's kind of unclear. But he has his back towards you. He's just in the process of hammering out a few spearheads, just the steady clang, clang, clang.
Hmm. So concerning the heat of the location, the first thing that Invictus is going to do when he steps is take off his coat,
Mm-hmm.
because it is probably, I'm guessing it's pretty warm, like warm enough to warrant taking the coat off.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the snow is melting around the furnace, so he's going to take it off and just kind of just slowly just approach and just watch from like slightly to the back to the left, probably like he could see the Emperor in his peripheral vision if he cares enough to check.
Mm-hmm.
But the Emperor just watching him at his work right now.
As he finishes out hammering, you see him hold the steel up, kind of look at the spearhead, douse it in some water again, and turn to place it back into the furnace. And he sees you out of the corner of his eye and kind of stops for a moment and nods his head. Emperor, please, come, make yourself comfortable. I didn't expect you. A few of the boys are out gathering some more things, trying to get as many of our supplies indoors. The snow is starting to be a bit of a ruckus, but things are going well in here. And as he's talking, he pulls a spearhead out and almost like an automatic reaction just turns over and still looking at you begins hammering at it again. So, you come to inspect your wares. We've been quite busy.
Yes, well, there are lots of goings on right now in the castle. I just wanted to come check on the new manufactory, see if there was anything you needed to get things set up quicker. Come see your work. I see that things are going well in that department.
So yeah, as you look around, you see that there's piles of things still in the process, fairly standard weapons. There's maybe 5 or 10 swords, probably about 20 or so spearheads that have been made. A few have actually been placed on handles. Where is he getting the metal and supplies for this?
It's Let's see. That would be one of the towns that is inside of our training network, and also has been basically it's been paying tribute in raw metals for a while. It's
Okay.
a mining town, slightly lower in altitude than the castle, I want to say. Definitely not that low. It's slightly hidden. Let's see. There you go. To maps.
Yeah, let's go to the
Uh,
map and
there you
find a
go.
place.
Yeah. I want to say that it's kind of like halfway between Portum and the Peak.
Okay. Somewhere kind of in there-ish.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Okay. And what's the name of this place?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, the name of this place would be the Stephen Mining Company. And it's run by a man named Stephen who kind of sees himself as an old world venture capitalist.
Okay.
And most of the population in there is working down in the mines, collecting whatever they can, whether it's coal for warmth or iron. And basically, they send a lot of that to us in tribute. We send them food in return and protection when they need it. It's part of the growing empire.
So yeah, as you look around, he kind of takes a moment. I think we have everything we might need. I guess, have you come up with a timeline yet? I've been putting out as much as I can for you, but I think the boys might get more done if they knew exactly when we need to have all this ready by.
So what are they like mostly manufacturing right now? Is it mostly weapons, mostly tools?
It seems like they're making mostly weapons at the moment.
Okay.
You do see one. It looks like they've taken. Someone probably found a mannequin at some point in one of the shops. Maybe even Opie brought it along, as you know, he kind of goes to those strange places. And you do see someone is starting to work the metal around it, creating a breastplate. But they don't seem to have any full sets of armor yet. Again, it's only been a couple days since they've been in here, so you see again probably about 5 or so swords, 10 or so spearheads, a variety of basic arrow tips and all that stuff as well. But yeah, nothing's fully created yet, enough for them to necessarily hand it off. It seems like they're kind of building this in a stage of creating one part at a time and then putting it together once everything has been completely fashioned.
Okay. So the emperor is gonna kind of glance over all of the weapons, and he's gonna look back at Foster. What can you get done in around 2 weeks?
Well, as long as the trail keeps up and we're able to get those the supplies from the mining company. Well, if Jack is able to get the armor done, we could probably have about 5 sets of at least breastplate, greaves, standard armor, maybe another dozen or so swords, 2 or 3 dozen spears. And with the spare metal, we've been able to create quite a bit of arrows as well. So probably around 20 or 30 bundles of arrows. That's actually more time than we were thinking. Is there something particular you're wanting to make? So far your orders have been quite clear, but
Yes. For the next 2 weeks or so, I want you boys to be mostly working on weapons and armor. In fact, so the Emperor is gonna, like, of course, not aggressively, but pull out his own sword.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like he's gonna show it to Foster. He's like, "What do you think of this sword?"
He takes it. Well, it is certainly it was well fashioned. This is one you found here at this place, yes?
Yes. Can you make one better?
If I had a stronger metal, perhaps. The iron and steel we're getting from the mining company, it's decent, but it's very porous. And he pulls some of the ingots, and you can see that it's not pure. There's definitely signs of air, bubbling. The cooling process is not right. So he brings one of his swords over and lays it next to yours. You can see how our metal is a bit darker, and it's unfortunately just because of the quality of the metal we use. And he takes your sword. Do you mind? And he holds the other sword, and it looks like he's gonna slice them together.
Yep. Go ahead.
He takes them and he just presses, and as he does, you see like the veins and muscles kind of ripple in his arm. So he just presses them down and pulls the sword he's making or has made away and kind of holds it up against the flame coming from the furnace. You can see a very small divot where your sword is kind of pressed into the metal. You can see that the metal is a bit softer. So yes, if I could get a stronger metal, I could make something of the same quality. Or, well, that would be my best guess for now. I could try to layer the metal, but that, as well, it does take more time to do that. And I'm not sure if that is something we could spend time doing before the next couple of weeks.
All right. For now, 2 weeks. Have a decent sized shipment of weapons and armor delivered to the central citadel.
Of course. The legate was by a few days ago and had asked to get a few training materials as well. A few targets and all of that for the men to begin practice. I do have Joe working on that as well. So if you happen to see him, let him know that we'll have that in the rear yard as soon as we can. It's been a little difficult getting the hay for the targets to dry from the snow, but we'll get that to him. So yes, absolutely. 2 weeks. We will begin to supply all we can there, and of course, if you think of anything else you might need before then, don't hesitate to stop by. I will be here day and night. It's nice to stay in the warmth. Keeps me busy, keeps me out of the cold.
Perfect. Pleasure doing business with you.
And of course, not a business. It is truly my honor to work for you, Emperor. It's been, I'm truly humbled by your wishes. So, again, anything you need, don't hesitate to come by.
The Emperor nods, and he leaves. Looking at around the time, this guy is probably guessing that the expedition, like the training expedition, is probably going to set out relatively soon. So he's going to go check on that, especially check on Lark to see if he's ready or not.
Mm-hmm. So, Lark, as you kind of wake up, you come out of the tent, and it's cold. Your tent has a few torches set around it, so the snow kind of keeps away, but you look around, and there's a decent, 3-4 inches of snow that's just kind of built up around the rest of the tents near you. You see Larissa and Rourke are currently having a conversation over by the storage shed. They see you awake and kind of just wave to you a good day. But yeah, what is Lark up to today?
Well, I imagine today Lark's very aware he's got to set out on the exhibition fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably a couple things he needs to check on. First thing he's going to do is go over to Rourke and Larissa.
Mm-hmm.
And Lark just kind of approaches and says, good day.
Morning.
Not a warm one, unfortunately, but...
That is not. Yes.
But there are plenty of opportunities to be had.
It is. They're all quite busy. He kind of points back, and you can see like Ram is in the process of loading a crate to someone that's in the courtyard. You see Abraham is in the process of shoveling snow off one of the main paths kind of to and from the castle. Yeah, you see probably a few of your other followers are just out and about, seeming to be active, watchful, but making sure they're working.
Lark kind of like looks, makes sure no one else is paying close attention. He looks back to Rourke and Larissa. So our food stores, I imagine, are quite low at this point. Yes.
Larissa pipes up, and you see she has the notepad. We're really down pretty low. We've been trying to ration. I know we're planning on heading out pretty soon. I think we'd be okay for maybe a day and a half travel. Beyond that, I'm really not sure. We've been saving the canned food and the rest of the produce that we can, but we've gone through most of the bread and grains that we had.
Unfortunately, I can't guarantee I will be back before the stores run out, so I must take precautions to make sure that we remain fed. And Lark kind of moves back to his tent a little bit, and he's going to search through his things and grab a piece of barter out. I'm thinking, because I had like an old relic from the castle last time, I'm thinking this time it is a gemstone, but like a moderately large gemstone. Maybe it fell out of an old piece of jewelry. Maybe he just found it one day. Maybe it belonged to one of the people we had to purge. I don't know. But so Lark kind of grabs that, heads back over, and kind of like tries to not be too obvious, hand what's like essentially a large emerald to Rourke. I'm gonna mark off that one barter quick, and Lark's just like, use this to get anything you need from the market. And if possible, make sure that, well, you know, make sure we aren't scammed by any of these, what's the word they use? Capitalists?
Of course. I think this is very grateful and of you.
Yes.
We will make sure to ration this out. I know this will be able to keep us fed for many days.
Yes. Another small detail. You still have Abraham's knife.
He references his pocket. I do.
Right. Give it here.
Hands it to you.
Just in case he ends up needing it on the trek. Entity forbid anything bad happen, but after what happened last time we exited these walls, I want to be careful, and I want to ensure that I return.
Of course. I still wish you would allow me to travel with you.
Yes, but unfortunately I need a trusting pair of eyes to make sure things remain as they currently are here, and as capable as you are, Larissa. I honestly, the way things have gone, I don't feel comfortable only leaving one of you to keep an eye on things.
I completely understand. We will make sure to keep detailed records of everything. Make sure everyone is still very busy with their tasks, and we will keep it all in order. Everything will be as it was when you return. Just Entity bless you, and safe on your travels, of course. I look forward to hearing about this Princey more. He does seem like an interesting character.
Yes, and I believe the Entity may have even given me a clue as to what this individual is. I had a vision one night during my dreams, and it was strange. The Entity isn't always very literal, but I saw a man with 3 eyes walking into a frozen pond, but I'm sure all will become clear once I arrive.
Hmm. Of course, of course. You always are able to pick up on the finest details the entity lays before you. So, well, again wish you safe travels, and I hope you're able to experience everything you're looking for.
As do I. Well, I must make sure Abraham is also prepared for the journey.
Oh, of course, yeah. He should be about done clearing that path over there. Has a couple other tasks today, but do you want me to go and fetch him, bring him over?
I will get him myself. I recommend you head over to the market as soon as possible. Make sure that we get the best selection of produce that we can.
Of course, of course. I'll see who's up and running today. But like I said, we'll keep everything under control here. You take care of yourself.
And you as well. And Lark kind of like puts a hand on Rourke's shoulder and just like, I'm putting my faith in you, as I have many times before. I know you won't let me down.
Never, never. Be
Lark
blessed.
Lark kind of nods and turns and makes his way over towards Abraham.
As you begin kind of crossing the courtyard, the snow crunches and crunches down beneath your feet. You've been here for a little while, so you probably noticed the unique things that the townsfolk do. They serve a certain delicacy after funerals. It's called ash meat. And Lark, who seems to be the primary buyers and consumers of this ash meat?
Within my group,
Or within the castle, who do you see?
within the castle. Okay.
Yeah, who have you observed? Because you saw the individuals up on top of the furnace when the bodies were burned,
Right.
roasting the meat. So, who have you seen kind of consuming that?
I'm gonna say that the guards seem to be currently the main buyers of it because they were the only ones that had. Well, I mean, Lark had his 2 cult members burned as well, but they had like Windjammer die, so
Mhm.
they probably view it as, like sharing his memory a little bit.
Mhm.
So the ash meat has probably been most popular among them.
Okay. As you kind of walk through the market, you see there's not as many stalls out today, and in fact, the place seems fairly quiet. As again, the snow's getting fairly high. It's still cold, coming down a little bit. But you get over to Abraham just as he's about to kind of finish clearing it away, and he stops and kind of rests on his shovel for a bit, sees you or hears someone approaching, kind of turns around and sees it's you and kind of stops. Lark kind of nods his head down.
Abraham, I see you are completing your tasks faithfully.
Of course. As I've
Are
been
you
asked to do.
Are you prepared for our trek outside the walls?
I am prepared to follow you wherever you need me.
That is good. I hope you're ready to redeem yourself.
In all and every way that I can.
Very good, very good. Lark kind of pulls out his knife but doesn't hand it to him.
Okay.
I'm going to hold on to this for the time being. If I deem it necessary, I will give it to you. But that is something that will either come out of necessity or you will prove yourself worthy of my trust once again.
Of course, I understand. I will work hard. I will work hard to regain that trust. Whatever you ask of me, I will make sure it is done.
Very good. For now, I want you to, once you're done here, gather a small amount of food, any clothes that you'll need for the trek, and I don't know if you're able to discover exactly who will be going with us on this journey. I would certainly love to know it.
Of course, of course. I'll get that going right away. Have they told you how we'll be traveling? Should I pack up our bags, or will we be taking a cart?
I imagine we'll be taking the carts, but I recommend grabbing our bags just in case, entity forbid, anything unfortunate happened and we be forced to walk on our own.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Considering all that have happened to us in the recent weeks, I truly do not wish to take any unnecessary risks.
I understand. I will go and see who will be going with us and make sure everything's ready for whenever you need it. We'll be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Excellent. I suppose I should make sure everything is set with the Emperor. And Lark kind of like saying Emperor a little bit louder because it's like, I'm meeting with the Emperor, I'm important.
I
Like-
think I saw him going to the blacksmith not that long ago.
Oh, yes, I saw that. How fortunate. A way for the Emperor to produce his own array of weapons. I've been meaning to talk with that burly man that runs the forge. I'm curious. Wonder how good of a listener he is.
He kind of gives you a bit of a sly smile, like, I recognize this Lark. I think he'll be very interested in all you have to say, Lark. I look forward to sharing a meal with him.
As do I. Well, off to make the final preparations, I guess.
Of course, I'll get started right away. I'll see you soon,
Yes, may the entity be with you, Abraham.
as it is with you.
Lark kind of turns and walks, takes a few steps, kind of looks towards the blacksmith's area. Is like, later.
Yeah, you kind of see a few folks that are in the market are like kind of whispering, he's gonna go talk to the Emperor. It's that one guy. You know, there's definitely some gossiping going on.
Oh yeah, Lark has definitely over these past few days been playing it up.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So as you head over, let's catch up with Dusk. What is Dusk up to today?
Yeah, if it's during the day, she's probably sleeping.
Okay. So it's late. It's afternoon. So yeah, I guess. What was Dusk up to last night?
I'd assume the usual routine of getting some food from the stores. Depending on how many days it has passed since her last visit to Shazza, she probably also pays him a little visit.
Okay. You've noticed a few things. You've noticed that those members that follow that Lark some of them seem to be more aware of your presence than the normal civilians are. You'll notice that even as you kind of dart around the corners, you know, a single face will kind of look out of the crowd and almost seem to see you. You've come across a few times where they're moving more things into the storage and a guard kind of walks in while you're in there and they seem to be giving you a wide barrier. There definitely seems to still be fear there. Like they're not sure what they see when they see it. So if they happen to notice you, they leave fairly quickly. And so you've actually been able to get access to food a little easier as they kind of just drop what they're carrying, and you can run over, grab it and get back in. But there's definitely more rumors circulating that the haunting of the Winters Wraith is coming from the storage area. And Shazam might actually bring that up at some point when you're talking as well. Like, I'm starting to hear rumors. I'm not sure if you're gonna be safe there. I think people are starting to learn, starting to think you might be there.
I mean, as long as they don't actually come bearing like pitchforks and torches, I think she doesn't really care much about it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem anyone's coming to knock your door down. Those that the guard are a bit superstitious, it seems, so they want to stay away from it, and those in the cult seem to be more interested but also keeping their distance.
That's enough. I mean, because even if one of them tries to get closer, they just ended up puppet string.
Mm-hmm. You've the past couple times you've met with Shazah, he's been asking you a lot more about your visions and your dreams. He seems to be concerned from the last time you met with him, but also becoming kind of more aware of the weird things that kind of surround him. It's not getting to an uncomfortable level yet, but he's just kind of awkward with it, kind of. Did you see anything today? Do you want to tell me about it? You don't have to tell me about it, but if you want to tell me about it, that would be. I guess you don't have to though. What kind of things have you been doing with them? Because I know you don't talk much, but have you tried to speak with them psychically lately, or just spending time looking at old comic books?
I'd say a bit of both.
Okay, well, I actually created a new move for you that we might as well just test out for kicks and giggles, because that's always fun. And I'll copy this over to your sheet. But when you use your mind to speak to others in their own mind, roll plus weird. On a 10+, they receive the messages you require, and you hold one puppet string over them. On a 7 to 9, they receive your message, but take 1 harm armor piercing as their head starts to strain. On a miss, you inflict 2 harm armor piercing, and they become mad talking about the voices in their head.
That's really cool.
I'll just toss it in there. That way, if I know you kind of like using your mind to speak to others, so now we have a move to accompany that. But let's use a move real quick from your last conversation with Shazah and see how that conversation went.
What should I call this move?
So you have
brain whispers.
Brain whispers.
Sure.
Because I do have like a couple names in mind for moves, but I don't think they're appropriate for this. Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
I harm poor Shazza.
I think with this one, it is kind of similar to the last time you experienced it, and he does, in a way, welcome it. Like, he thinks that maybe this is just part of the process. If I'm gonna have a conversation with you, it's gonna hurt, but I'm okay with it hurting because I'm still talking to you. But as the first one, you notice that there was a bit of like dark black blood that kind of fell from his nose. You do see that one of his eyes like burst a blood vessel this last time, and the same kind of dark black blood kind of rests there now. But what did you guys talk about?
So if she shares her recent visions with him, so that would probably be about the entity and the voices she's been receiving at night or during the day even.
He looks starts kind of looking through the comic books that he has and some of the other things that he's scavenged, and you see these other characters that seem to be otherworldly, that come down and try to take control of either Earth itself or just a population and are defeated by these so-called heroes. There's this being that seems to be able to control worlds that's defeated by some caped man that was able to turn time around. There's this alien of sorts that has a strange metal glove and a variety of strange crystals on it that through great wars is defeated. And you find that while these beings cause great chaos, destruction, sadness, the heroes always seem to endure in some way. Through great loss, they find great success. And you kind of find a bit of hope that no matter what this thing is, if it is something dark and scary, you can be a hero. You can be something to defeat it if you wanted to.
That is inspiring.
So his family's the butcher. So obviously they have some ash meat there, and Shazad definitely consumes some of the ash meat. Is that something that Dusk would consume?
Definitely.
It
It's food, isn't it?
If you're offering her
it's
food, she won't decline.
it's prepared almost ceremoniously. It's also at a very high cost too, so it's a way for them to make money. A limited item, but it tastes a bit more spicy than the normal kind of meats you get there. A bit of a it just has a bit of a tingle, a bit of a spice to it. And they serve it in small, almost like a kebabs. It's first roasted kind of over the open flame of the furnace, then braised with a bit of some kind of light sauce, and then recooked. But yeah, it tastes a bit like a spicy kind of steak with a bit of like nice oak wood kind of smoked flavor to it. Like it tastes really, really good, but has a bit of a tingle to it. When Shazat eats it, you can tell he understands that it's for like, it's a symbolism of those that have passed away will now grant me strength as we stood next to each other in battle, or they protected our walls. Those great warriors that have fallen will now give me strength as well. And so you see him kind of perk up, and even though he's a very small, frail kind of person, he thinks he's stronger because of it. For you, you don't necessarily feel that. It just feels like a nice piece of meat. So some of it might be more mental, just the thought of the culture here than it is the actual substance.
I mean, yeah, it would probably be one of her favorites because she likely doesn't get to eat that well cooked food often.
Well, I mean, the fact that you have access to the butcher's house, you probably would have some opportunities to get some more. Would that be something you'd try to do, or would you be just waiting for Shazad to provide it to you, kind of in your normal way?
I mean, she would probably be more likely to wait for Shazad to offer it than risk getting caught.
Okay.
So yeah, most of the food that she gets for herself is just what she gets from the storage, which is mostly cooked.
At the very least, it would be like heavily salted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beef jerky.
Yeah. So as you've been sleeping the past couple nights, what's been going on through your head from the meeting with the Emperor and Lark, this strange interaction with this dark entity, hearing those whispers, being drawn to the dark zone and being able to turn away from it? What kind of thoughts have been going through Dusk's head? What's your current attitude towards the situation?
I mean, she's not happy about the prospect of going into war. Not because she fears or abhors violence itself, but because she knows there's something in her that if it gets pushed, bad things will happen, very bad things. So she's not really looking forward to it. Other than that, she's probably taken even more curiosity to Lark's cult because of the recent spike in nightmare. I don't say nightmares, but the voices and the apparitions of the entity.
And what is your thought on the entity? Is Dusk frightened by this? Is she interested in learning more about it?
I mean, she's a bit confused because the entity seems to be both friendly and hostile at the same time, from what she's witnessed. If anything, she would probably want to learn more about it, if not to be able to better protect herself from it, if it comes down to that.
And have you spent any time trying to learn more about the Emperor Lark? Kind of trying to figure out who these people were now that they've talked to you, kind of seen that you are more than just a wraith. You are a being of some sort.
I mean, Lark, she would probably be more interested in him because being the leader of the cult, and she's probably seen him pray and that stuff, and she probably has an idea that he has a connection to the entity, and so probably is the best option to learn more about the entity.
Yeah, over these past few days too, Lark's been using that black skull. His weird is up, so I don't know if that would do anything to Dusk's sensitivity to the weirdness of this world.
I mean, she sees the skull mostly as like a trinket or a toy of Lark, but that he uses to some degree to also communicate with the entity or call upon the entity. But it's something that only Lark can do in her mind.
So you would have overheard this expedition that's planned to go to that strange man's place, the one that you had been trying to follow before, and that Lark has basically kind of set himself up to, if not lead, but definitely be a part of the expedition. Is that something that Dusk would be interested in going on as well, following along with, or do you have any wishes to maybe be attached to the expedition through someone but not necessarily be there yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe it's probably not something that she would be willing to actually go herself and risk herself.
Mm-hmm.
She would probably want to use someone in her stead. So yeah, puppet string.
So let's transition then. For you, Emperor, who would be going on this initial expedition to supply the first round of food to Princey?
All right. So, considering the state of the path, there's probably going to be either it's going to be some of my own men who are trained to use shovels, or just quite literally the caravaneers themselves who have shovels.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably going to be a group of them. There is. You want time to make a new NPC because that's something I like to do. It's going to be actually for this time. It's going to be a pretty old trader actually. He's been trading around these mountains since for a very long while, since even longer even since before the castle was established as a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of one of the castle's most trusted traders just because he's been here for a while. He knows the paths very well, the ones that he travels, and he knows how to get out of sticky situations if he gets in them. And also, because of the amount of time he's here, because of the amount of barter he's acquired, he also actually has the clout to get a group of people to come with him on the caravan. He probably has one or two hired mercenary company in the more dangerous parts, which, considering that this is basically unexplored territory for the most part, he's definitely bringing those two mercenaries with him.
Mm-hmm.
That and basic staff to lead the caravan, prepare food for the journey, things like that. So it'd be mostly just him and his caravan staff.
Okay.
And this man's name is going to be Old Man Peter.
All right. And when did you excuse me, after you received kind of the notice on your scouts kind of returning saying the path is clear, you probably prepared for him to go out right away. So is that something you've just said go as soon as you're ready, or do you have a specific time you're planning on sending him?
Basically, I basically told him to go as soon as he's ready because the Emperor trusts him enough that he can manage his own time schedules. He knows when he's ready to go, when he's not ready to go. And forcing that would just lead to just poor trade routes or poor trade expeditions.
Okay. So, Dusk, throughout the last night or so, Old Man Peter and his crew have been kind of unloading some of the supplies from storage, putting them on their wagon, their cart, and preparing to go. One of his workers is this woman named Fauna. She's in her mid-40s, kind of just a hard worker. She has a crew cut, wears a leather jacket, just kind of strong, but just seems kind of tired and there to do her job, get paid. she's the main one that seems to be moving the packages to and from the storage. So at some point, you probably would have the opportunity to try to approach her with no one around and try to get some puppet strings on her if
Right.
you wished.
That's what I'll do.
Perfect. So yeah, she's in one of those storage units that you've seen Rothschild and his kid load those sacks of potatoes and all that. You've seen him kind of take a few from. So you kind of sneak out of your room, and how would you approach her? What would you do?
She would approach her from behind, and once she's not holding anything, probably taking a short break or just huffing from all the work, she grabs her hand and implants the puppet strings.
Okay. Go ahead and roll plus weird. I think in this situation, you've just know the storage area so well. I'm not gonna have you roll to sneak around. I think you know exactly how to get there, but we'll just see how well the puppet strings actually work.
Ooh.
Okay. So for puppet strings,
I think it deals damage.
it does, yeah. On a miss, you inflict 1 harm upon your subject to no benefit.
Ouch. Rest in peace, Rothschild.
So you reach to grab her hand and try to implant your puppet strings, but immediately like she recoils and goes down, like grasping her head and like almost grunting in agony. So you pull your hand back real quick and kind of duck back into your room, and you hear her kind of stumble out and like slam the door. And since then, you haven't seen her return to kind of finish loading. It seems like whatever happened there, especially with the rumors that are circulating, like they don't care if they have the full order done. They're fine leaving with what they have already. But you don't seem to have any touch to be able to see within the traveling party. So you could definitely try to sneak around today before they leave, knowing that they were probably leaving at some point today. Maybe you wake up early and you want to sneak around and try to get someone again, or if you have other ideas, I'm willing to hear it.
Nah, I was planning to do the former. So yeah, I'll sneak around and try to tag someone else.
Okay. So, Emperor, you've headed out to find the legate and his men, kind of see what training's looking like. So they're kind of in the rear part of the castle, back in the small little courtyard. And at the moment, you see... Who do we have here? We haven't named a lot of them. Drag's dead. You definitely see Ace in there. I think Ace and one of our other unnamed guards, we'll say Doghead, are in the process of hand-to-hand kind of combat. It's not quite dodging. It's a mixture of fists, like boxing, with a bit of trying to disarm each other. So throwing them to the ground, standing on an arm. And you see that they're fairly well matched. Both of them are shirtless. You see that Ace has more markings on their skin than Doghead, and definitely seems to be the stronger combatant. But they are just throwing each other down. They're dirty. They don't care if they get some blood from each other. Like they're not necessarily holding back. They're not trying to fully hurt each other. And the group of maybe 10 other guards around them are just hooping and hollering. Every once in a while, the legate will like call stop and go up, approach them, say, "This is what you did wrong. This is what you need to try again." Step back, slap his hands together, and they will go back at it.
Mhm. Okay. So the Emperor is going to approach. Is like the legate like inside the crowd? Is he separate from it?
He's inside like the inner edge. But as you begin to approach, the other guards kind of see you stand back and give you the salute across their chest. The legate sees you as well, does his double arm kind of crossed, nods his head, and kind of widens the circle to allow you to enter. Yells continue to fight to Ace and Doghead, trying to inform that you have arrived. So show all you have for the Emperor.
Okay. So the Emperor is definitely going to approach inside the inner circle. He is going to stand right to the left of the legate, just observing Ace and Doghead. And for the moment, he's just going to observe, just acting as the Emperor should, observing his men while they're training, and silently casting judgment upon them.
Mm-hmm. After a little while, you see the legate kind of stop, separate them, allow them to breathe, and as they're both kind of taking a deep breath, he'll point to a few of the other guards that are standing nearby and just point and immediately come in when they're supposed to be at their weakness. And Ace turns around and starts blocking a blow. Doghead just gets completely blindsided, cracked across the jaw, kind of goes down, stops himself on the mud and the snow, and like tries to kick his leg to knock the other guard down. Ace already has the guard in a headlock, flips him over onto his back and shoves an elbow into the gut. Guard kind of gasps a little bit, rolls over on top of him and like starts slamming his head, and then stands up and like puts his hand down to pull him up. And as he's pulling him up, he just slugs him in the gut again, like, you're going to get me at my weakness, I'm going to get you at yours. And they're kind of going back and forth. That will stop for a bit. The legate will actually get in there with the hilt of his sword and just crack someone against the back of the head, make them stumble a bit. Like, they're going pretty strong and at it. These are practice raiders, so you're familiar with their practice. It's not
particularly organized.
It isn't. No, it's just chaos. Like, let's beat each other up because that's how we're going to get stronger.
Mm-hmm. So the Emperor is going to hold a single hand up, just to wait and to see when they're actually going to notice him and when they're going to stop.
Okay. I would say about half of them, those that are in the crowd, notice it immediately and turn to face you. The legate like is near to Ace, and you see him like turn, and that causes Ace to turn as well. Doghead and this other guard keep going for a little while before you hear someone in the crowd kind of go and they eventually stop, see you, and like try to get up, but they're pretty dizzy and woozy. Doghead's left eye is swollen closed. Kind of they all stand, place their arm across their chest and look towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Dripping blood and mud.
The Emperor's going to drop his hand. He's going to look at everyone. Say, that was some mighty fine training, all of you. Tell me, what is the most important thing in winning a war? Anyone?
Doghead raises his hand. That the enemy's dead.
Not quite. I want you to shout it out.
Ace stands there. That we achieve our objectives with as little loss as possible.
Somewhere in the middle of there. What you need to do to win a war is to seize the objectives. But tell me, how do you seize an objective? Do you just all scramble in the mud, punch each other, kill each other by yourselves? Or do you fight as an organized unit, routing the enemy due to your fearsome training and organization? Which one of these wins wars?
You see them all wanting to answer, but not sure what the right answer is. Is they the way of their past and what the Emperor's saying? Both of the answers seem possibly right.
Mm-hmm.
The legate kind of steps forward and looks towards each of them. We are not in the lowlands going from place to place. We are here, the Legion. You all know what the Legion means. We are one. Turns back to face you.
With like a resounding like yell, the Emperor just kind of like lets out an oorah to resound his support of the legate. He's like, the legate is right. All of you, separate yourselves into 2 groups. I want those 2 groups to elect a leader. And that leader will command a unit. The unit will be one of said groups. And you 2 will fight as a unit. You will fall as a unit. Have you ever heard of an old game called Capture the Flag?
Doghead speaks up. Is that when the pretty lady runs down the street and we all chase after her?
The Emperor kind of thinks to himself, and he's like, in a way, that isn't an incorrect explanation, but... So the Emperor kind of takes out a red ribbon and a blue ribbon. And he just puts both ribbons on the ground on the opposite sides of the field.
Okay.
One of these groups will have the red ribbon. The other one will have the blue ribbon. It is the goal of the group to steal the opposite side's ribbon and bring it back to home base. And the Emperor kind of points at the selective, like where the ribbons are, as home base. If you steal the other ribbon and keep yours, you win. If not, you have not won yet. Separate into your groups. Elect your leaders. Legate with me.
All right. So as that is happening in the back courtyard, we catch up with Lark. Lark, you were heading where?
Lark was actually going to try to find the Emperor to make sure that everything was set, that all the preparations had been made, make sure he was, like, everything is set for him to go out on this expedition and meet Quincy.
So the last place you would have known he would have been the blacksmiths. Is that where you head to, or do you try to find one of the guards to figure out where he's at?
I imagine Lark probably asked somebody because he thought about going to the blacksmith, and he's like, no, the Emperor should be the priority. But then he probably heard from someone, oh, the Emperor was by the blacksmith. He's like, guess I'm going to the blacksmith.
Okay. Yeah, as you get back to you get over to the blacksmith, you see or you feel like the heat coming out of the door, and you hear the clanging inside. You look in and you see Foster there working, but you also see another individual, smaller, just very mousy in figure. And that's who you know is Jack, and they're in the process of unloading a few crates. Seems maybe some timber for the furnace, maybe a bit of ingots, and they see your shadow kind of cast. They look over to you. Yes, can we help you?
Yes, I was actually looking for the Emperor. I heard from a few of the guards that he was here recently.
Oh, I think you just missed him. Foster! Foster turns around. Yeah, what is it? He's looking for the Emperor. Oh, I believe he was going to find his men. I believe they're in the process of training. You might be able to find them in the back courtyard, possibly. You're that... the individual that lives over in the tents, yes? I've seen you around.
Yes, Lark. Those are my tent, and Lark kind of realizes, huh, I've been trying to hype myself up, but I still live in a tent. That kind of dawns on him for a moment, and he's like, in your name, I heard that the Emperor brought in a blacksmith and a few other men.
Yeah, he strides over, and Lark's pretty tall, right?
Lark's moderately tall.
He's a bit taller. He's definitely built pretty like a tight end. Just
oh,
big.
Boy. Yeah, so this he's probably taller and notably wider than Lark.
Yeah. He walks over and just reaches out to give you a big handshake. The name's Foster. I've seen you around. I've seen you at the church over there.
Yes, Lark returns the handshake to the best of his abilities without making it seem like a challenge because he thinks this man might be able to break his hand.
Yeah, he grasps it, but he doesn't squeeze too tight. You know, it's just more of a secure handshake. You all do you do the religion over there? The places down in the lowland, they had what did they call them? Congregations, sessions on the end of the week, talking about old ancient things and how to be righteous and all that. Are you one of them sorts? All about the good and holy.
I don't believe that we walk the same path as those that you've come across before.
Good. They're a bunch of tight asses, if you ask me.
Lark kind of gives like a like a bit too much, but and Lark just kind of says, yes, I never really cared too much for them, even although ironic, I know, look where I ended up. But Lark is looking around. Does he see the weapons that this guy's been making?
You see definitely the elements of armors and armaments. Again, not a lot is fully produced yet, but a variety of elements of war.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of like raw materials and like shafts that don't have spearheads yet. So it's Lark kind of takes that all in. See, the Emperor didn't waste much time putting you to work.
No, to be honest, I'm okay with it. It's keeping me nice and warm, keeping my mind straight, and it's keeping Jack off the juice. Isn't that right, Jack? Oh, fuck you, Foster.
Lark just kind of walks over. Are those spearheads like nearby?
Yeah. You see the one that he just kind of finished is sitting there cooling.
And Lark kind of like walks over to it, looks at it a little bit. Are you used to making weapons?
Oh well, I've done a bit of blacksmithing down in the lowlands. Occasional jobs here and there, but I seem to have a knack for it. It's not too difficult once you know how to work the metal. You can create just about anything you might need, and the Emperor's been gracious to allow me to see a few of the wares he has within his armory, so once I had an idea of the template, as it were, it wasn't too difficult to create replicants of it.
Well, just out of curiosity, Lark takes the knife he got from Last out of his pocket and flips it handle first. I picked this up recently, but I wasn't quite sure about the quality. It was cheap at least, but
This is the one you got from the Ash Chowner?
Yeah.
He looks at it. Ah, yes, this is a worker's tool, more than a weapon, I would say. It'll get you out of a scrap. It looks like it could use a bit of a sharpening. Would you be interested?
By all means, I'd love to watch you work. blacksmithing is not exactly a common talent these days, and I've never quite gotten the opportunity to watch it up close.
Yes, yes, no, I've been a bit surprised. Seems there's quite a few warriors around here, but all of them were carrying very dull weapons. So no, this should be just fine. He goes over and he has a hand cranked grinding stone that he leans over and he takes a bit of water from a wet rag and places it on your blade and begins to spin this large stone wheel. And as it begins to speed up, you see sparks kind of coming from the edge of the blade. Kind of goes very carefully, kind of curving it down the stone and curving it back up and flipping it over, doing the same thing, rising it up and washing it off with the rag and kind of looking at his reflection in it, going back down. After maybe 5 or so minutes of him sitting there, and every time as he presses down, you just see these strong arms and veins kind of holding and controlling his craft. He takes it and picks up one of the spare arrowheads that they have laying or arrow shafts that they have laying around and holds it up, and just with almost like a warm knife through butter, just takes it and chops right through the wood. There you go, that should be able to do just about what you might need it to.
Lark takes the knife back, kind of like looks over the blade a little bit. And he like rolls up his sleeve and does the thing where you like see if it can shave your arm.
Oh yeah, you have baby skin patch on your arm now. Like it is smooth.
And Lark kind of observing that. Mighty impressive work.
Oh no, not work. It's what I enjoy. Hobby, you could say.
Lark kind of puts the knife away. He's like, I assume the Emperor expressed that he intended to engage in a conflict with another group, yes?
He has mentioned such, yes.
How does that make you feel as the creator, that your creations will be used to bring harm to others?
Secure in my employment.
I love this guy already.
Oh, that was a great answer. Lark just kind of nods. Yes, such a thing is certainly not a bad feeling to have. The Emperor has selected me to accompany his caravan to bring some food to this settlement. It worries me greatly, especially leaving my followers behind, but I don't know if anyone told you we had casualties on the way up here.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. No, I'm very sorry about that. I know that path it's always been treacherous, but no, that's always difficult, losing those that are close to us.
Yes, it's quite sad. 2 of our members got ahead, and by the time we caught up, there just wasn't much left of them. Something got them, and I just can't help but wonder if they had some proper armaments, maybe they would have stood a chance.
I see. He looks around for a moment.
Would I be able to roll manipulation in this situation? Because I'm 100% trying to get sympathy from this guy, so he's like more susceptible to like haggling and everything. Like
Yeah.
I'm playing the sympathy card wicked.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, go ahead and try to manipulate to see if he's willing to give up any of his wares. See how willing he might be able to do that.
All right, I get to roll weird instead of hot.
There
So
you go.
like probably as this is happening, like the lights from the forge and everything casting shadows, the shadows start acting weird again. Well, shoot.
Okay.
3 and weird. Wow.
Almost the
just
worst
rough.
possible roll.
That's
So,
just rough, honestly.
That is. At least you get experience. There's always that.
Speaking of experience, you also get experience from the first rolls of the.
Oh yeah, I meant to ask that too. That like custom roll where I got to add
Yeah.
fortunes.
Yep. Yep. That's why we
Okay.
highlighted beforehand, so you can
Excellent.
get as much XP
And even
as
if
you
I,
wish.
I
if
love
I
XP.
like, I only had one XP left. Do I continue receiving XP? Or is
So
it?
go ahead and mark down that you leveled up, like take a note that you leveled up, and then continue to.
All right.
Unless you know exactly what you want to do to take your level up, go ahead and add that to your page if you do. But if not, just mark it down and we can do that.
I'd
after.
rather discuss it at the end of the session.
Okay, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously the sympathy card's not working. Either I'm not presenting it well enough, or he just doesn't care, or
he leans forward. You know, I might be willing to part with a few of these wares, but it'd come with a high cost. You can understand. The Emperor's placed his orders, but we might have a few things to sell. I can't give away anything for free. You understand? I'm a new business. I have to make bills to pay, and as it were.
Lark kind of masking his disappointment, like, of course, we're all trying to make a living our own way, and certainly such a valuable talent deserves some sort of compensation. I might send some of my followers over later. I don't carry much on my person, but yes, and if any of your men are interested in stopping by the church, feel free. We certainly welcome all comers, and what harm can listening do?
I guess it depends on who's talking.
Another good answer, sir. You are a sharp one. Well, I must hurry. I don't want the Emperor to. I must hurry. I don't want the Emperor to change locations again before I can reach him.
Oh, of course, of course. Well, yeah, send along your people. Let them know that Foster has a great deal for them. He gives you kind of a sly smile. I'll make sure I get them exactly what they need.
Well, may the entity be with you. And Lark, knowing that he's not going to know what that means, turns and heads out.
You
leaving
hear
it.
like Jack speak up. That's a weird motherfucker. Get back to work, Jack. I don't need your goddamn lip. And you hear the banging after a bit and begin to make your way around. So yeah, as we transition back before this capture the flag session, I want to catch up with Dusk now that it's kind of the daytime. You know that people are just getting ready to head out either later today or early the next day. Who would your target be, Dusk? What would your perfect like eyes and ears for this venture be?
Should I roll sharp?
It's up to you. Who, if you, either you can give me an idea of like someone you would want there, or we could roll to see who might be the best to watch out. But I guess it depends on your intention. Are you looking to protect Lark, to just oversee what happens? What would you want to?
I guess both would be the best case scenario, but I think it depends a bit on the puppet strings roll. Like,
Okay.
if I get the success, I get 2 or 3 orders. So in that case, I could effectively ask them to protect Lark and observe at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
In a partial success, I think I'll have to pick one.
So you have access to a few individuals. You know that Old Man Peter and his crew are still kind of in the markets unloading or getting their things ready to go. You do see that Abraham is kind of alone over by the tents. Larissa and Rourke are still over there, but you see him in the process of packing bags. And then you do possibly see Lark as he's like traveling from speaking with Abraham off to the blacksmith. So would you approach Old Man Peter and his crew, Abraham, or Lark?
She's aware that Abraham was the one that caused all that commotion the other night, right?
Correct. Yep. You do remember him as the one that was on the floor in the barn with the young boy's boot at his neck.
I'm not sure if she's aware that Lark is like mad at him.
I don't think you would have overheard that. You just would have known he was one of the ones fighting, and that he's just part of his crew.
Okay, so he's a fighter. I'll go for him then.
Okay. So as you kind of follow the same path that you would normally go on, and you have to stick really close to the shadows and the walls to kind of conceal yourself in darkness, I'm going to go ahead and have you go ahead and, yeah, do something under fire. Go ahead and roll plus cool as you try to sneak around. Okay. So as you begin to head over, you see Rourke begin to walk away, and as he is heading towards the market, Larissa begins to approach Abraham. So you have a moment. You can either wait, posing yourself in potentially more danger of being spotted for them to finish their conversation, whatever she's about to do, or you can try to create some kind of distraction to pull her away from Abraham for enough time for you to get in there.
She will wait.
Okay. So you see Larissa go over to Abraham and kind of ask him what is he doing. He explains, I'm just getting all the bags ready. Lark said we need to be prepared at a moment's notice. And Larissa takes her one hand and places it on Abraham's shoulder and kind of says, you know what, don't worry, Abraham. Lark, he has always done everything he can for us. And Abraham looks up. Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to be able to travel with him. I look forward to this trip. And she kind of pulls him a bit closer. I know you do, but you got to make sure you keep your gut in check. All right. And he kind of looks. I know. I will. I'm just gonna listen. I'm all about being listener, not reactive. I won't react unless he tells me how to react. And she says, all right. And you see her pull a small bag of food kind of from her side. This should get you guys on your way. Make sure it's rationed out, make sure Lark knows it's in here. And you just be safe. And kind of press their heads together, nod, and then she slaps them on the shoulder. All right, I gotta get back over there, make sure everything's set up for us here. Make sure you both stop by before you head out. It's like, okay, kind of grabs his bag and throws it up over his shoulder and grabs Lark's bag and carries it and begins to walk away from the tents, heading towards the front of the castle. So you have a moment to kind of get through there if you want to try again, or you could try to bring him closer to you.
I'm going for it.
Okay. So as you begin to cross through the tents, kind of entering into the courtyard, you're making sure that with each footfall it's silent, kind of ducking behind any piece of fabric or pole or wall that you can find between you and him. I'm going to say Yeah, maybe we do kind of more of a custom move. I'm gonna say it'd still be on cool. On a 10 plus, you're gonna get there. On a 7 to 9, you'll get there, but he notices you getting there. On a miss, prepare for the worst. Okay. So
Ooh.
you glide across the snow again, following all the ducking down behind all of the tents, going behind any of the walls you can, just walking just on the top, only causing very small footsteps in the kind of hardened snow, and you find yourself right behind him, kind of walking at an angle so that the backpack almost blocks you from anyone that might be seeing you there. Where would you try to reach out and touch him?
The hand again.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So you reach out to his other hand, that's kind of just swinging by his side as he's holding up the backpack kind of up over his shoulder. You just reach out to grasp his hand. Go ahead and roll plus weird.
and now I'm going to fail. Oh, okay.
All right. So I believe you still get 1 hold, or is it 2? Let's see. It is 1 hold. And so
Okay.
what is your command?
So I would still be able to see through his eyes even if I ordered him to protect Lark.
Yeah, I think we've kind of established that you have that ability. Whether you control that or it just happens is unsure. It did seem to come out of a bit of panic and trauma. But yeah, it might be something you're able to do again. But yeah, you've done it once before, so you might have the idea that you could probably do it again.
Okay, so my command is to protect Lark, stay by his side almost at all times.
All right. You feel his hand kind of squeeze around yours for a moment as if he's like holding on to something, and then with that you kind of just vanish wherever you might go. And he stops for a moment and like looks around, and he sees your footprints, but he's not sure what it means. Kind of just shrugs it off and continues walking towards the courtyard. So I think let's take a quick break. When we come back, I think Lark, you'll be getting there right before this capture the flag event. I'm gonna have the Emperor make a roll to see how that all goes down. So let's take a quick 5-minute break. I'm gonna go get some more water, and when we come back, we will see how the Legion plays this game.